What were you saying about not being a Jehovah's Witness?
Continuing on from the last video, Charles Taze Russell asserted in the Watchtower, September 15th, 1910, page 298, if the 6 volumes of scripture studies are practically the Bible, topically arranged with proof texts given, we might not improperly name the volumes the Bible in an arranged form. That is to say, they are not merely comments on the Bible, but they are practically the Bible itself. Furthermore, not only do we find that people cannot see the divine plan in studying the Bible itself, but we can see also that if anyone lays the scriptures studies aside, even after he used them, after he has become familiar with them, after he has read them for 10 years, if he then lays them aside and ignores them and goes to the Bible alone, though he has understood his Bible for 10 years, our experience shows within 2 years he goes into darkness. On the other hand, if he merely reads scripture studies with their references and had not read a page of the Bible, as such he would be in the light at the end of 2 years, because he would have the light of scriptures. So, he is saying his studies in the scriptures publications are on par with scripture with regard to how properly to interpret them. Despite Russell having no serious theological training, not knowing any of the ancient languages to correctly translate the texts, him knowing this, he claims his studies in the scriptures is necessary for understanding the Bible. But is this really the case? Judge Rutherford, Russell's unruly successor, who broke away from the movement to form his own, taking many of Russell's followers with him. He was a legendary figure who spoke his mind. The judge shunned photographs despite being photogenic. He'd wear a wing collar, bow tie, and black suit. He had reading glasses which hung on a string across his chest. He was a judge of the 8th Judicial Circuit Court of Boonville, Missouri, earlier on in his career. He was not a person afraid to speak publicly, especially to large crowds. Towards the end of Rutherford's career, one of his witness legal team members, Mr. Olin Moyle, sued Rutherford and several Watchtower board of director members in 1939 for libel, and he won his case. The judge had to pay $25,000, which was paid off in 1944, 2 years after the judge passed away. Rutherford was more successful than Russell, distributing millions more of his writings in half the time it would take Russell. He wrote over 100 books and pamphlets, and since 1941 his work has been translated into about 80 languages. After the judge's passing, his next successor was Nathan Homer Knorr, elected as president of the Watchtower immediately after his death. Knorr held responsible for the running of the Gilead Missionary Training School in South Landing, New York. Knorr passed away in June 1977. Following after that, the next successor being Frederick Franz, he was the next elected president. Since the passing of Russell and the line of successors moving forward, the Watchtower claims to have shifted away from Russell, considering his history. They claimed Russell was neither an authority, nor publisher, nor distribute any of his writings. Historically, it is not the case. Examples of this are how Judge Rutherford, in one of his books entitled World Distress, Why and the Remedy, he quoted Russell no less than 16 separate times, referring to Russell's book Studies in the Scriptures. Russell is also quoted in a 57-page pamphlet called Comfort for the People by Judge Rutherford. Russell was mentioned, even praised in Jehovah's Witness in the Divine Purpose as well as Jehovah's Witnesses in the 20th century. Russell still has a hold of the Watchtower in a number of other works that quote him as he seems to be authoritative. The amount of hours Jehovah's Witnesses put into evangelism, whether door to door or standing on the streets with their carts, is astounding. The same goes for Bible studies, putting evangelical Christians to shame, to be honest. The witnesses hold an annual memorial service likened to the Lord's Supper. They do not celebrate birthdays, Sabbaths, cultural holidays, or national ones like Christmas, Easter, Sunday ceremonies, etc. If a witness does celebrate them, then they could be disfellowshipped, since they class those holidays as pagan. Jehovah's Witnesses Awake magazine is one of the most distributed in the world, with 41 million copies per issue, extended to about over 230 lands. The Watchtower has a massive influence in the world, and I'm just another person from the outside looking in, talking about its history. But because the Watchtower goes against traditional Christian teachings, I have to talk about it. I got to voice my opinion. It isn't just that. The Watchtower, though denied, is an autocracy. The Jehovah's Witnesses organization is said to be under Christ. It is a channel for bringing the divine interpretation of His word to the devoted people. The Watchtower claims the organization is the mother, whilst recognizing that Jehovah is the father. There are other quotations to prove this, meaning if it's run by Christ, then the organization itself, for example, in the Watchtower published on October 1st, 1967, it says, "Make haste to identify the visible theocratic organization of God that represents His King, Jesus Christ. It is essential for life. Doing so, be complete in accepting its every aspect." Another, the witnesses must adhere absolutely to the decisions and scriptural understanding of the society, because God has given it this authority over people. And one more before moving on. Listen to this. Avoid independent thinking. Questioning the counsel that is provided by God's visible organization. Fight against independent thinking. Well then, now that we got some background, let's put the invisible organization to the test, shall we? Stay tuned for part 3.